Hello, my name is Nikki Papadaki and I am an Early Help Coordinator. I am also covering the role as Early Help Coordinator Lead for all the PVIs. I'm going to talk to you today about early help support. The objectives of today's presentation will be to understand the role of early help and your role within it, to start having quality conversations with families using Think Family principles, to recognise the local authorities' levels of need tier system and where you are expected to support as a single agency. Also, to understand the role of the Early Help Coordinator and how we at Early Help can support you in your setting. So what is early help? Early help is made up of teams and services and partners that work together to provide support for parents, carers, children and young people from the age of 0 until 18 and 25 if the child has a disability. Early help is outlined in the Working Together guidance and is a key area for assessment in the Ofsted inspection. Right conversation, right action, right time is the local authority's revised guidance document for practitioners when responding to the needs of children and families. The aim of early help is to intervene at the earliest possible opportunity in order to ensure problems do not escalate. However, early help may be needed to address needs and risks at any point in a child or young person's life, and we seek to offer support quickly to reduce the impact of problems that may have already emerged. Keeping children safe in education is clear that settings should be prepared to identify children who will benefit from early help support, have an awareness of safeguarding issues, and know when to make referrals to early help and to children's social care under the Children's Act 1989. So how do we work at Early Help? Well, we are consent-based only. So what does that mean? It means only when a parent or a carer agrees to work with Early Help and signs the consent form can we start working with the family. Early Help is whole family working. This means we work with all members of the family, regardless of whether parents are together or live separately. This also includes gaining the voice and observing all children in the family and not just the child with the presenting issue, as we know that what happens to one member of the family will have an impact on all family members. To access early help support, then a referral needs to be submitted for support with the consent of the family. This is the same form as you would use for a referral for protection. You just tick the box for support and submit to the MASH request email address. The referral will then be screened by MASH, that's the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub. Now, if the referral meets the threshold for early help support, and I will discuss thresholds a little later in the presentation, then it will be allocated to either a family practitioner or a family engagement advisor. A family practitioner completes home visits and uses the OFJ to assess the family needs. They are the lead professional. They arrange, team around the family meetings and will coordinate the support. Sometimes a referral doesn't meet the threshold for an early help assessment, in which case it may be allocated to an early help family engagement advisor who signposts to relevant services and provides advice and guidance. This may be to provide advice on issues such as housing or complete referrals for parenting or supporting with school admission forms. Sometimes the referral may be signposted back to yourselves as the setting or the referrer to support the family. This usually results in the early help coordinator supporting the setting or chairing a TAF meeting. So Early help is a collaboration of agencies working together. It is not a particular service or provision. It is everybody's business. Promoting the welfare of children is the responsibility of all those who come into contact with children and families. So if you, as a professional, are not quite sure what is happening for a family, but you are aware that there are some emerging needs, or you have some concerns, you should be, as a starting point, having a quality conversation with the family that builds relationships and identifies the strengths and the needs of a child or young person in the context of their family. Every contact with the family should count. A simple example may be that you have noticed that a child or parent has suddenly become withdrawn, or there are unexpected or sudden absences. Start by having a quality conversation, building on the strengths of the family, and intervene early in the best interest of the child. So, as I said, the starting point for all practitioners, if they're concerned about a child, should be a quality conversation. The local authority uses this term, quality conversation, to describe the phone calls and meetings that take place between the practitioners working at every level of need, which could be universal or targeted or statutory or specialist services. Using a checklist approach to identify the need tends to only identify family weaknesses. In contrast, a quality conversation can take into consideration the complexity of individual children and family situations and can place more emphasis on their strengths. If we don't develop the correct understanding of the strengths and the needs and the risks through these quality conversations with our families and colleagues, we can make unnecessary referrals to the MASH team, which then clogs up the system. It diverts resources away from the children who need them most. This can also create frustration and resentment between agencies and families across the children's services system. Now, there are tools that can help you explore the family's journey and what has actually brought them to this stage. The Our Family Journey, known as the OFJ, is the Early Help Assessment Tool. It is a family-friendly tool that all settings can use and not just early help. By the end of the OFJ, you should be able to establish whether you, as a setting, a single agency, can support the family with advice and guidance or support with a referral, or if not, whether it requires a multi-agency response, which should then meet the threshold for early help support. Once completed, the OFJ is submitted to the Early Help Duty inbox email. Please remember, consent is needed by the family before starting an OFJ. In order to consider the needs of the child and the impact of the family circumstances on the child, there are child voice tools you can use for different age groups. The OFJ and the child's voice tools can all be found on the Hub and Waltham Forest website under Early Help. Our family journey training is also provided by Early Help coordinators. So if you need any help with completing these or you have any questions, then please contact your Early Help coordinator. Now, I'd like to give you an example of family work with early help intervention. So, a single father, one child aged 4 years old, mother passed away due to health complications, parents were not living together, father requested support as sole carer for his child. Father had no financial means to support the child and was not on benefits, and there was also conflict with family members. The worker completed an OFJ and arranged a TAF meeting with the school, the previous nursery, and a bereavement therapist. The child was also referred for bereavement counselling and father was referred to adult counselling services. A referral for citizens' advice for support with benefits and housing was also completed, as the property was in mother's name and father was not in receipt of benefits. The worker liaised with the school, the job centre and age concern for a family member. So what were the outcomes of early help intervention? Father was provided with specialist advice by the bereavement therapist on how to talk to the child in a child-friendly way to understand mother's death. Father attended counselling services and was able to express his concerns and fears as a sole parent. Due to citizens' advice involvement, there was an emergency payment for universal credit and father was awarded child benefit. Citizens' advice also supported with applying for a bereavement benefit. The outcome of this was a payment of £3,500. This was because mother used to work and had contributions. The worker also liaised with housing, who provided advice and guidance on staying in the property. So the family did not need to leave the property. School were provided with advice and guidance on how to deal with the child's questions by the specialist bereavement therapist. And the school themselves provided early help in the form of free school uniform. There are also different services and not just whole family working within early help. I will go through some of the most common. Now we run parenting programs, the Triple P Primary, which is 0 to 11 years old, and Triple P Teens. These are 8-week programs. Due to COVID, these are currently running virtually only. Stepping Stones is a program specially designed for children with additional needs. Although the child does not need to have a formal diagnosis to access this program. Employment and training support with seeking employment or further education or even voluntary work. Under community safety, we have domestic abuse, so we have specialist support in the form of solicitors coming into our children and family centres and offering free legal advice. Young carers, if you believe a child is acting as a carer for parents or siblings, then a MASH request form needs to be submitted for young carers. This will then be allocated to early help, who will review this support every 6 months. Young carers also provide activities as well as other support. We also have services for older children. However, if a family has a child in your setting who has an older sibling, then you can still refer the family. We have adolescent at-risk workers who aim to support those at risk of gangs. Family functional therapists who work intensively with the family where there may be conflict and miscommunication. We have harmful sexual behaviour leads who provide advice and guidance and workshop to parents and professionals. So to find out more about any of these services or any other services that we offer at Early Help, you can access the Waltham Forest Traded Services website. Also, any questions regarding these services, then please contact your Early Help coordinator or you can email the Early Help Duty inbox. Okay, let's now take a look at the local authorities' revised approach into 4 different levels of needs. So we have our children with good outcomes. So these are the children with no additional needs. All their health and developmental needs will be met by universal services. Now, Tier 1, Level 1 is what's known as emerging needs. This is a universal plus service, and this is where you come in as a setting to provide advice and guidance. Now, this refers to the children's needs in relation to their health and development, and that there's circumstances that can usually be addressed and supported by a single agency such as yourselves. What do I mean by emerging needs? This could be a variety of issues, such as lack of self-esteem, lack of routine, poor concentration or behaviour, coming to notice of the police, poor diet. Then we go on to Tier 2. Now, this is early help, level 2, multiple needs. So these are your children with additional needs who may be vulnerable and showing early signs of abuse and or neglect. Their needs are not clear, not known, or not being met. This is the threshold for a multi-agency early help assessment, the OFJ, to begin. So these are children who require a lead professional for a coordinated approach. These do not include services from children's social care. Just to let you know that if a case is closed to children's social care, then it can be stepped down to early help. Once a case is open to early help and there are safeguarding concerns, then it can be stepped up to children's social care. So if you are unsure about whether a case meets the threshold for early help, you should be asking yourselves, can we, as a setting, support the family needs? Or does it require a coordinated approach of different services? Now, your tier 3 are your complex needs. So these are your child in needs cases that come under Section 17 of the Children's Act 1989. So these are the children that require specialist services in order to achieve or maintain a satisfactory level of health or development. And they may require longer-term intervention from specialist services. Your tier 4 are your children in acute need. So these children are suffering or are likely to suffer significant harm. This is the threshold for child protection. These children are likely to have experienced adverse effects and to be suffering from poor outcomes. Their needs may not be considered by their parents. The next slide shows you examples of different emerging needs. So no access to support from learning at home, lack of exercise, poor diet, being bullied out of school or settings, lack of daily routine and structure at home. So when there are emerging needs, your first port of call would be to have a quality conversation with the family, building on the strengths of the family. Then you look at your concerns and you ask yourselves, is the family engaging? And you can reflect on your own practice. You may then have a conversation with your designated safeguarding lead. This may lead to a conversation with the early help coordinator. This may result in arranging a TAF meeting, which can then be chaired by the early help coordinator or a professionals meeting. Now, if the case doesn't meet the threshold for early help, then early help can recommend actions for the setting. If in doubt, then please ask. There is no such thing as a stupid question when you are concerned about a child. Okay, I will now go on to early help coordinator support. So how can we support you at early help in your setting? So we can support by helping your setting establish your own early help offer. And what I mean by that is, how do you as a setting provide support for your children and families? If you remember in the case study, the school provided a free school uniform for the child. We also provide training such as OFJ training, TAF training, threshold training, adolescent at-risk training, and reducing parental conflict training. We also chair TAF meetings. So if you feel a family needs support and you've had that quality conversation with the family and they have agreed to a TAF to explore further, this may then get referred to early help, or if not, again, the early help coordinator will provide recommendations for you as a setting to action and then review. We also provide case consultations. We can discuss cases and provide professional recommendations and actions for the setting that best meet the needs of the child. We also provide welfare checks. Again, if you have concerns, we can let you know whether the child or family are open to children's social care or early help. If they are open to children's social care, then we will provide you with the name of the social worker, or if known to early help, the name of the practitioner working with the family. We also provide briefings to inform you of your setting, of any updates in the early help service. And we can work flexibly around the needs of your setting. My last question is, do you know who your early help coordinator is? If not, then please contact the Early Help Duty inbox at earlyhelp@walthamforest.gov.uk. Any other information regarding early help, please visit the hub to download more information. Thank you for listening. Any questions?